Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bound to Talk Football. I'm your host, Blake Walker. Paul Urge is to my right, and we are ready to go for another recap of another week. It is the end of week 4, officially. That sounds crazy, but it's the end of week 4. We're learning a lot. Paul and I joked at the beginning of the season, like 8-player, we'll know who's good by week 4. We still don't know who's good by week 4. We'll talk about 8-player. A lot of cool stuff happened this week. A lot of upsets, stunning upsets. Like probably the craziest week we've had in a while. All around an amazing week. Paul, what games you watch on Friday night?
Watched the Centennial Southeast Poke game. They had a nice little huddle stream. Gotta love those. High quality. Very high quality. Nice close game there. Johnson versus Ankeny. That was just Iowa versus Minnesota probably this year.
Yep.
And then we've got, Valley versus Waukee. I tuned in a little bit. Yeah. Waukee did their thing. So those are my games that I tuned in.
I didn't call a game. I was very out of place, but we got a lot of final scores out on Friday, which that was a positive when I'm not calling games.
Yeah.
I watched Ankeny Johnston on WHO because it was just on. And then I watched Waukee Valley, and then I watched a ton of Hampton Dumont Cal Nevada because that just happened to be on. And that was a close game the whole way, so I watched a lot of that. So a lot of good games, kind of went back and forth, a couple huddle games, just scrolling through our tab on the page and going through it and being like, all right, what do I want to watch? So very good week. A lot of fun games, close games, and it's time to talk about them. We'll go to Class 5A where Paul was talking about it. Excuse me. Ankeny defeats Johnson 16-10. There's not much to say about this game, either as the fact that Johnston does not look like they're meeting expectations this year. At least it seems like another disappointing loss. 3 interceptions by the Ankeny defense was the big difference maker in this one. And Paul, Ankeny just feels like, I don't know what to think of Ankeny right now. I don't know what to think of Johnston.
I'm kind of in the mode that they're that team that you don't really want to play in the playoffs, I guess. Like they're just scary because they've competed with good teams. I mean, not really. I guess Dowling and Southeast Polk, they got kind of washed. But in general, I mean, Johnson's a big win for them to kind of get over they're a top 10 team in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like they're 8 through 10 team that Devin Akers, stud. Daniel Larme, stud. Shout out D'Angelo Barku. I hope I'm saying that right. On Johnson went nuts. He had about 100 and I think it's 160, 170 yards, 178 yards for Johnson last night on Friday. So, I mean, yeah, Johnson's definitely not the team I think people thought they were going to be this year, though.
Is it time to hit the panic button?
Oh, it's time.
Okay. I agree. I just think I get it. You had high expectations, and they're still a very good team. It's very rocky. A 2-2 start that we could argue should be 4-0. I mean, you could argue they should be 4-0. So I just feel like they'll get there. I think they'll be fine. But as of right now, I think you're on somewhat of a panic mode, just trying to get things figured out. Mm-hmm. Still a lot of time. You're probably still going to make the playoffs at 5-4, 6-3. So we'll just see what happens. But they need like Northwest to keep getting better, and they just got to keep things rolling. But tough loss for Johnston. Good win for Ankeny. I like it. I think last week I compared Ankeny to the Valley of last year, and I think I'm going to stick with it. I think they'll probably go 5-4, something like that, 6-3, and maybe could make a run at the playoffs.
They might. Their schedule lightens up.
Yeah, it does.
In terms of CIML, it lightens up. They got sorry, it's loading 1 second. They got Iowa City West this week. Then they got Prairie, Iowa City Liberty, Valley, Cedar Rapids, Washington. There's a scenario.
They could win out.
They don't lose out. I mean, they don't lose a single game. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
When we're talking about the 7-2 Ankeny Hawks. What?
That looked abysmal. It felt like to start the season, even though that win over Centennial looks like it's going to go a long way. So, yeah, I'm excited. I think this is it's just a new Ankeny team. It's not anything we've seen before. This is just a new take on this team, and we'll see how it shakes out. Another really close game, great game. Southeast Polk defeats Ankeny Centennial 24-21. Southeast Polk actually trailed quite a bit of this game. CJ Phillip showed up 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. Moberly had a decent game, didn't throw for any touchdowns, didn't throw for any picks. He just kind of took the ball, took care of it. I think Centennial had chances in this game. I didn't catch a ton of it, but I think this is just two teams that could easily play in the dome, and I think this was a great game, as we expected. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't think you worry if you're Southeast Polk. I don't think you worry if you're Centennial.
Yeah, I mean, this is a highly competitive game. I think if you're Centennial fan, you're happy with that because for the past 3 years, this hasn't been really that competitive. It's like their offense usually hasn't been able to score against Southeast Polk's defense. And, I mean, brutal at Centennial doesn't have stats in, so I have no idea how their guys performed. But Dravin Woods also on the defensive side of the ball, 3 TFLs, 5.5 tackles. They're racking up a good amount of TFLs against Centennial. So that defense does what it does for the Rams. Offense just wasn't as explosive on Friday for the Rams as we've been seeing it. So it's kind of my take on the game. Good for Centennial. Southeast Polk at 4-0.
Someone asked me this week, should we be worried about Southeast Polk's defense?
No.
And I'm like, I don't think so. But then I went back and looked at a couple numbers, and I'm like, all right, so you gave up 28 to Ankeny. You gave up
2-1.
21. 21. You gave up 21 to Ankeny, 21 to Centennial, 18 to Valley, 7 to Prairie. I'm like, I don't think so. I think they're
not at all.
Yeah, I think they're phenomenal on defense.
I think they're the runaway best defense in 5A.
Yeah. Another team that could be right there with them, that is right there with them. Dowling Catholic defeats Waukee Northwest 31-17. I think this one was a little bit bigger than the score shows, I think. Dante Cataldo showed up 15 of 18, 178 yards, 1 touchdown, ran for 45 yards and a touchdown on the ground. If he gets going and Rashad Davis gets going, which I think Rashad ran for almost 200 yards in this game, Dowling is tough. And I still have Southeast Polk above Dowling, but Dowling could overtake Southeast. We'll know in week 8, but as of before they get there, Dowling looks good if the quarterback game gets rolling.
Yep, interceptions hurt Waukee Northwest again. They got 2. St. Johnson threw 2 picks, so Dowling. That's probably one of the major reasons they won this game. It was 28-10 heading into the 4th, so you're kind of right about that score. I think they were just kind of slowing down the game in the 4th. Curtis Horace is getting going, Horace, whatever the last name was it?
Horace, yeah.
Horace, okay. Is that back-to-back games with 100+ yards? I think it is.
Yes, it is.
So
he's the kid from Colfax.
Yep.
Mingo, I think. Yep.
First team All-State, I think, last year. So that's a big name for them. That kind of not a slow start to the season, but they just wasn't dropping 100+ yards per game. So they've got a good. I mean, we said it every week. They've got a good receiving core. Their defense is interesting. I think they're good. I think we've decided they're good by now. They're a top 5 defense, I'd say, 5A. So Dowling, man, runaway number 2.
They're right there. Another team that's right there that I take a step back, just a little bit of a step back this week. Bettendorf defeats Linn-Mar 21-14. Charlie Zimmerman, 11 of 21, 155 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't know, Paul. I feel like they should have won by more. I just feel like Linn-Mar has been decimated by injuries, and I'm not saying that's an excuse and a win's a win, but I don't know how the game played out. I didn't watch the game. Just score-wise, I would have expected just a tad more, I feel like, from Bettendorf.
Yeah, it looks like in this game, turnovers kind of hurt them. They had 3 total turnovers this game, so that'll do it. That'll set you back quite a bit. Stat-wise, I don't think we're seeing the normal stuff we see from them, which is usually Charlie Zimmerman having a crazy game. Yeah, step back a little bit for me. I still think they're good. I'm going to allow a team to have kind of one game where they just aren't firing on all cylinders. But, yeah, you would have liked to see this one be decided by at least 20+, probably.
Where do you, if you did rankings, where would you put these guys?
They're a top 10 team. I don't know. I've
Gazette has them at 3.
Who?
Gazette has them at 3.
See, I can't do that. I think they're in the 7 to 10 range. And the way I rank teams kind of has a lot of like bias towards how or who you've played. And
Yeah.
to be honest, they haven't really played a team that's
I
respected.
agree.
They have a top 10 win.
Hmm?
PV, if you put PV in the top 10, that'd be their top 10 win, I guess.
Yeah. That's a good top 10 win. I mean, that again, just kind of baffling. I'm not really sure. Out east, I'm not sure, man. I really don't know. They seem to just be cannibalizing on themselves. So
Yeah.
we'll just have to see how everything shakes out. But it's a win for Bettendorf. Lindmar, I just feel bad. Injuries have just hurt those guys a lot. I think they had a lot of upside. Just losing a couple key guys has been big. A team that I think, Paul, I think should be high. Like, I think these guys should be high. I'd have them at 4 or 5, maybe even 3. Waukee defeats Valley 37-15. I mean, they handled Waukee better than they handled Valley more than Southeast Polk did and Dowling did. Granted, the quarterback has been not there. I mean, they're struggling at quarterback because of injuries. But Grant Gamble, 21 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm looking at Waukee as how we're going to look at Centennial. Okay, they lost to Ankeny. It's because it's a rivalry game. All the emotions are out, blah, blah, blah. This Waukee team is very good.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit for me is on the Valley just not being that great with a sophomore quarterback that was not supposed to be their starter, I believe. So, I mean, Valley has been derailed by injuries. If you really want to talk about
It's
team,
it's bad. Like, I feel terrible for them.
Yeah, that's been a rough year for Valley. Yeah, I mean Grant Gamble looked great. I don't know if you already said that, but he's a stud. And then Waukee, man, they got a lot of guys that are kind of becoming names. I don't know if Malachi Kirby played this game, but oh yeah, he did. 2 TFLs, about 1.5 TFLs. So yeah, I mean they're scary. I'm with you. Top 14. We're literally 17-6. They just hold on to that against Waukee Northwest. I think there's like a full like Waukee's a top 14 push. Like
Does Valley make the playoffs?
I
I hate to
mean,
say it,
history
I don't.
play coming up.
What is their district? I'll let you pull up their schedule quick.
I'm just gonna. They got Ames. If they lose that game, season's over. They're officially on like if they lose a game, I think their season's over.
Yeah. Okay. So let's set the bar there.
Ames.
It has to win. They have to win this week.
Waterloo West, Ankeny, Marshalltown. I think the big games for me are Waukee Northwest and Ankeny. Big ass.
But you can't sleep on Waterloo West. Waterloo West is 3-1. They have a really good quarterback in Frazier or running back in Frazier. I think Waterloo West could give Northwest a couple troubles this week. So we'll know more about that. But Ames only win against Roosevelt. Waterloo West 3-1. Haven't played a great schedule. We'll need Valley to beat Waterloo West. Waterloo West will have to beat Northwest, and then they beat Northwest. They'll beat Marshalltown. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be tight. Like we said, 4 and 5 could get them in. It's just a matter of
they have to win out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a scenario where they go 3 and 6 and just Southeast Polk, Dowling, Boston, and Waukee just win in all their losses. Like
it's not going to make people happy, but
no,
that's just how the cookie crumbles. I don't know. Cedar Falls defeats Iowa City Liberty 35-19. Drake Gilhoss, 17 carries, 100 yards, 1 touchdown. I believe he became the all-time leading rusher in Cedar Falls history. I think
Gilhoss was back.
Yeah, so good to see him back. I don't know what more to take from this. Cedar Falls again remains unpredictable, or Liberty again, turnovers just costing them. I think they're a phenomenal team. They just defensively, I also don't think they're that great.
Yeah, defense for Liberty is a problem. They went full run the ball.
Yeah, Cedar Falls
carries, 232 yards, 5. That's what you do against a team like Liberty, I think. And defense, probably I don't remember if I was stuck with. I think I flipped my pick to Liberty this game.
I can't remember.
Gilhoss. Thought Gilhoss was a blink, but yeah, defense. That's a good showing from them after having kind of a rough start to the season, I'd say. So,
yeah, I think they'll get in the playoffs. I think they will, and I think they'll be a dangerous team.
Yeah, they're always a dangerous team in the playoffs, it feels like.
I think it'll be fun to watch. Liberty, I think, can still get in. Got to beat Ankeny here in a couple weeks. Really got to step on the gas here if you're the Lightning. But we'll see how everything shapes out. A couple more quick games to recap for 5A. Iowa City High gets the boot back, brings it back to City High. They defeat Iowa City West 23-8. City High is another one of those teams that's going to be really close on the fringe. Brady Bacon's starting to figure things out for Bobby Bacon. Sorry, Bobby Bacon. Brady Bacon's a sprint car driver. I'm stupid. Mm-hmm. Bobby Bacon. He's going to be fun to watch. I think he's a pretty fun talent. I love the helmets. I love the patriotic Tiger Hawks on those helmets. Those are really cool. Iowa City High does a great job with video and everything else. They get a big win over Iowa City West. Muscatine. I think we both kind of predicted this, knew it was probably going to happen if Ty Kozad came back, and he did. Hempstead no longer undefeated. Muscatine 41-21, 208 yards and 2 touchdowns. You think Muscatine could make some noise here now that Ty's back?
I was about to say that. As I ask you, do you think there's a scenario where Muscatine's a playoff?
I think they can. I mean, that is how much of a difference maker he is. He's just so good. And I think they could sneak in.
We've got Davenport West this week. At Limar, that's tough. PV, that's tough. Then Davenport North and Dubuque Senior.
So, spoiler alert, this will be out tonight, but I assume our game of the week post will be out tonight or tomorrow. We'll just have to see. But Muscatine Davenport West is our 5A game of the week. So we'll see what happens. It's a rough 5A schedule this week. Don't judge us. It's cool. Davenport West, not as good as they were last year, but they're still pretty good. Muscatine trying to get back rolling. I think it'll be a good game. Pleasant Valley defeats Prairie 28-23. Prairie, now that they're hitting tougher competition, starting to tremble a little bit. Pleasant Valley, besides that loss to Bettendorf, PV looks like PV. I mean, it looks like they could be right back to where they are and have a chance at the Dome.
Yeah, that's brutal that loss is kind of – they're definitely looking back at that. 4-0, they would have been the top dogs in the East for sure because they've just kind of been beating every team. I mean, they beat Kennedy, which we hold to a high level, and then obviously Liberty, if they would have beaten Bettendorf. Big would have there, but they beat that top dog easy in Eastern Iowa. Eastern Iowa, you said it earlier, it's just a bloodbath, man. We don't know what's going on out here.
And we can't go without 5A. Cedar Rapids Jefferson defeats Des Moines East 56-12. The Jayhawks are 4-0. It's so cool. So cool.
So wild.
They're going to make the playoffs. I hope people are ready for it because they're going to make the playoffs. So
I'm ready for that.
Good for Cedar Rapids.
Washington coming up.
So
they're going to have 2 games coming up, 3 games in this back home stretch where it's like, okay, let's see if they're real.
Yeah, let's figure out who you are. Sweet. That's Class 5A. It's pretty fun. It's top heavy with a couple CIML schools, but the East is starting to figure it out. So we'll get there as we roll along.
5A, top heavy with CIML schools? No way.
Never
like that.
What? Let's jump down to everybody's favorite class. Let's start quickly by saying, is this the wildest class that you remember in your few years of covering high school football?
Got to be up there because I only covered 5A for 2 years, and 5A is just not that crazy. So
okay. Well, I've been doing this for technically 5 years. I've been really since I was in high school, honestly, like freshmen or sophomores. This Class 4A might just be the most insane class I have ever seen, and it's not because everyone's good. I think everybody's good, but it's because everybody's beating each other and they're not winning. So we'll start out with the first game. Your first shocker, I guess, in a way. ADM beats the brakes off Norwalk, 47-14. This game was not even close. Aiden Flora, it's his team now. After Brevendal goes down with an injury, he's out for the year. Aiden Flora goes 11 of 13, 160 yards, 4 touchdowns. He runs for 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. He finishes with 6 total touchdowns. Aiden Harder and that offense could not get anything rolling. I'm right back on the ADM train. I mean, it almost feels like last week's loss to Lewis Central was just kind of like, okay, now we don't have our guy. Let's try to regroup. They couldn't get regrouped in time. Lewis Central takes advantage, but clearly they haven't missed a beat.
Yeah, I mean, how about that ADM defense that we
I
always
mean,
talk
tell
about?
you
They
what, yeah.
hold Norwalk to 14. Eli Robbins on that offense still drops 100+ yards and 2 touchdowns. So that's a name. If you're in the recruiting sphere, I think you're going to want to watch on. But, yeah, I mean, Aiden Flora his rushing totals are ridiculous, and he's a quarterback. If you're
I
into
can't imagine the pressure, like you're it. Not you're it, but you are the team now. Like you are this offense. It's not a two-headed monster anymore. You are a Trojan horse by yourself, and you got to do it yourself. And he's everything. I mean, he is ADM, and I think it's so cool to see. I'm curious to see how Norwalk goes from here, but I think it's a minor setback, and I think you just get back rolling and see what you can do.
Yeah. Little nervous about Norwalk.
A little bit. We'll see what happens. Their schedule's tough, so they'll get a couple challenges. We'll see what happens. Clear Lake is 4-0. They defeat Waverly Shell Rock 28-25. That defense that had only given up 6 points in 3 games bent a little bit here against a Waverly Shell Rock team that is nowhere near the team that they've been. Titan Schmidt, 20 carries, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Waverly Shell Rock 0-4 to start the season. But it's such a tough 0-4 because they scheduled such a tough schedule. I mean
the losses.
Yeah.
We're about to
Read
talk
their
about
losses.
Durant, North Scott, Xavier, and Clear Lake.
Like, if I'm one of those kids, I'm like, I don't know. You're just getting up, you get beat up, and you sit down and you get right back up. And you're like, all right, back for another week. So I guess if they went out in district play, I don't know what their district's like. They could make the playoffs, I guess. 5-4. They go 4-5, and that'd be an unbelievable RPI.
They've got Western Dubuque, Decorah, and then Mason City, Waterloo East, and Marion.
Okay, so they might finish the year out with 3 wins, but that is rough.
At Western Dubuque, after all, this is just great. They've literally played like 5 of the top 10 teams.
Jeez.
There's a world where those are the top 5 teams. For it.
Well, that's unfortunate. So good for Clear Lake, 4-0.
Yeah.
Mock Floyd Valley defeats Lamar's 18-13. Boy, these boys were hunting on us. We didn't post a final score about him, but Lamar's had 71 yards of total offense in this game. This game was just ugly. I mean, just feels like it was so ugly. Blake Albers, 19-29, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for 34 yards and a touchdown. I think I just put this on here because Lamar's was undefeated and lost their first game. So, what are you going to do? Class 4A. That's just how it rolls. But we'll see if Lamar's can get back rolling.
This is an absolute hideous box score.
Yeah, I did not have fun looking at it. You want to read a couple things off that box score?
I mean, this looks like a first quarter stat sheet. Wow, did you hear that list?
I think they had 9 passing yards on 2 attempts.
2 attempts.
No.
And I mean,
or two completions.
This can't. I don't know. I want to know the time of possession stat because their defense only. MOC Florida only had 20 tackles as a team.
Ugh.
So, they dominated the time of possession.
You might need to take a bath after just watching that game. Jeez.
27 total offensive snaps for Lima.
27?
Quarterbacks roll more times than that.
Good for Mock Floyd Valley, but
control the clock.
Woo.
They brought out the Iowa football.
Yeah, jeez. Bondurant defeats Lewis Central 36-26. You ever heard of Titus Cram? This dude went off again. 23 carries, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11.5 tackles, 2 interceptions. The man was doing it all. He's usually thought of an offensive, powerhouse. Well, he was getting it done on the defensive side. Bondurant is 3-1 with a loss to North Polk that you're like, ugh, you want that one back so bad. Lewis Central's 2-2, but I don't think it's a really bad 2-2 because you beat ADM and Harlan.
Yeah. Lewis Central is going to be a weird team. I have no idea. You could easily see them making the dome. But, Titus Cram game, I guess. That's all you can really say. Led by they dropped 13 in the 4th, and it was a close game in the 4th. So, good on them to finish the game out. Blue Jays, man. So week 1, it's the only game they kind of had a blip.
Yeah.
Because they've came out firing.
Who was Lewis Central's second loss?
Preston.
Oh yeah. So you have 2 of the best losses and 2 of the best wins, 2 of the best losses in the state. Congratulations, Lewis Central. What a time. I could see they'd be number 3 in some polls. I mean, honestly, that's just kind of how it's worked.
When you are Lewis Central and you have the program history of them, you're gonna have these years where you're a good team, but you're gonna play everyone and go 6-3 or 5-4.
Insane.
You could go 7-2.
Good.
I don't know. I haven't even checked their schedule.
We'll see about Bondurant. I really like this Bondurant team. I think Titus is a big part of it. I think if he slips, obviously that's a tough spot. They don't throw the ball well, or not like insanely well, but
they got Reed. His last name's literally insane.
Falsgraf or something like that.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, they got some guys. I think,
but quarterback, I'm sure, is kind of a question mark.
It's just kind of, they always go back to the punching bag because the last 2 years they've been really good, and then they just get upset in the playoffs, and you're like, well, what the heck, Bondurant? Like, you had it. Now maybe
Carlisle beat Iowa City Liberty. I don't even remember.
Yeah. But it's just kind of one of those things. Yeah, Carlisle beat Iowa City Liberty last year. That was a shocker. I just think Bondurant, this has got to be the year, clearly, with Titus the way he is, but you never know. Winning a state basketball championship, it's contagious. Like, those guys carry over and they're like, let's go win football, So
I wonder if there's a stat on that, like winning a state championship in one of those.
I've always wanted to look at it because I truly think it's a legit stat.
Because for Ankeny, I mean, we won the basketball state championship, then won football, then won volleyball.
Had no business winning that basketball state championship.
Okay. We had business.
I'm just kidding. It was that was one of the most legendary runs. It was so cool. That was during COVID, and I was like,
Braxton Bayless, remember the name. Down to talk football? Basketball? Question mark?
A couple months. Gilbert defeats Boone 31-12. Paul, say hello to the final undefeated team in Class 4A. It's your Gilbert Tigers who went 1-8 last year. That's right. Will Hawthorne is leading the way. 15 carries, 129 yards, 1 touchdown. He caught 61 yards and a touchdown. He comes from that Ava Hawthorne bloodline. Great basketball player, great movie star from Gilbert. Shout out Gilbert. 31-12 over Boone. Tough loss for the Toreadors. Gilbert gets their true test against Bondurant in a couple weeks. But we talked about that last week. I think that could be their only loss if they lose.
Yeah. Gilbert, I mean, gets it done pretty easily against Boone. It was like Boone started off in the lead in the first quarter, but they just kind of just dominate after that. 44 rushing attempts for them, so they're pounding the rock, almost 6 yards a carry.
Yeah, they got it going. Good Gilbert. Good.
So if I'm making an AP poll, I just put them as number 1. Is that how it works?
Yeah, realistically. Yep, gotcha. That's how it goes. I think the AP poll came out today or tomorrow. We'll have to see.
Your record anyway. Say who you are. That's why there's Lewis Central.
Independence defeats Decorah 21-7. Decorah, another unbeaten, goes down. Independence, EJ Miller, 15 of 18.
My favorite
138 yards, ran for 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. Your boy Tate Wood he's laying the wood. Explain what Tate Wood's doing.
He's got 71.5 tackles. In 4 games, it's 17.5 a game. We don't even see this with I don't even know. I don't know far enough back for Jack Campbell how many he was doing per game. I know he finished 130 tackles, I think. But this dude's on pace for. I mean, Blake, if you want to talk, I could get it right now. What he's on pace for. Yeah.
So he basically. Independence is using their defense to their advantage. I mean, that's really what it's going for. I think Decorah is a really good team, and EJ Miller has been solid for Independence the last couple of weeks. But I don't know. That's just a program that's known for winning. They haven't made it to the Dome recently, but they've been close. I think it sets itself up well. What is he on track for?
160. It's a joke.
Oh my gosh,
that's got to be close. I wonder what the record for most tackles.
We'd have to go back and look, but we can talk about it on Wednesday. I can write a note down and we can go back to it.
I guarantee you some
player, dude.
80s player when they only ran the ball, dropped like an insane amount of tackles.
Something like that.
That's still ridiculous. Modern era wise, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Marion defeats Makokata 34-7. Another undefeated team goes down. 4.5 sacks by the Marion defense. Marion is 3-1. Tell your friends. They could be a sneaky team as we head toward the postseason. I just wanted to quickly go over that. Marion's new stadium is really nice as well. This one, Paul, this was a stunner. I could not believe what I was watching when I turned onto this stream. And yeah, Pella defeats Xavier 31-21. In the great words of Joe Tessitore, Texas is back, but we're going to switch out Texas and say, is Pella back?
Oh, I didn't even know your time. Yeah, this was wild. That was one of those when you sent me the text. I was like, what? What's happening?
Luke Hardman showed up 20 of 32, 306 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and then he ran for 123 yards and a touchdown. He had 4 touchdowns, over 400 yards. I mean, I was stunned because this is Cedar Rapids Xavier. This is a team that didn't lose. They lost a bit from last year, but they kept their quarterback. They kept a couple weapons. They brought back guys on defense. And Pella just looked like the Pella that was on a dynasty run 5 years ago.
Yeah, this is wild. This is like one of those what's happening in 4A. Like, are they – because you have no way how to judge this. I mean, now Xavier's slipped up twice. I think you get a little bit – I mean, spoiler for you, I guess. We'll let you talk about that later. But Pella, I mean, they've got Carlisle, Newton, Hoover, Bondurant, Gilbert. So they got no slouches in their schedule. But, and then Pella, little sneaky team.
And it's even odder because they lost to Ballard and they lose to somebody else?
Indianola,
which good teams, but like what? That's the even more baffling thing. Like nothing Pella did the past couple of weeks has shown me like, they can go out and beat Xavier. It was just kind of one of those like, whoa, like what in the world are we watching?
I'd say that's the most shocking finish we've had this year so far.
Well, we're going to get down to 3A and I'll show you shocking, but yes, I'd say up there, right up there as the most shocking win we've seen this season. Final one, big score. Western Dubuque defeats North Scott 31-24. This is a dome preview. I mean, do I even have to say it? It's a dome preview. Grant Glosser, 31 carries, 389 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Western Dubuque heard that North Scott was going to try to run over top of them, so Western Dubuque said, we're going to run over top of you.
Yeah. This is box score-wise, it's telling. 11.5 yards per carry for Western Dubuque.
I mean,
It's hard to even keep it close in that situation. So North Scott run defense got to be better, but honestly, I'm kind of impressed. Wow. Just looked at the finishing score or the scoring total by quarter. That's what I'm looking at right now. 21 in the fourth for Western Dubuque.
Yeah.
Ice cold, ice veins.
Turned it on. I don't know, man. I think we'll talk about it on our Thursday podcast, but 4A is a mess. It's a good mess, but it is a mess of teams that just beat each other. We don't know who's who. Really, technically, there is only one number one, and it's Gilbert. That just sounds crazy to say, but honestly, it's true as of right now. They've just gotten through unscathed, and I guess for a week they'll sit as the number one team unless anything changes. But
you're saying they're number one team?
What?
We're going by the 4-0 record, one number one team?
Okay, so let's just do this right now. No, I don't think they should be the number one team in Class 4A.
Okay.
Who do you think should be number one?
Probably, it's
ADM.
a mess. ADM, I was about to say. Yeah, I'm going to go ADM because I think it's a legitimate excuse to say the shock of losing Revendal.
I agree. I don't want to be that guy they would have beaten Lewis Central if they had Revendal. So yeah, I think ADM is the number one team. I'm not picking anybody else below that. Psych, I will. Bondurant 2. Nope, I lied. Western Dubuque's 2. See, I just don't know, man. It's just so up in the air.
So that's the only class I feel like there's legitimate argument for probably a lot of teams to be number one.
So,
Indiana.
quick teaser, on Thursday, Paul and I will be giving our midseason dome predictions. Like, just giving our 4 dome teams. We're not predicting champions, not predicting anything else, just our 4 dome teams. So stick around for that. Also, we're going to be answering more questions, so make sure to submit those as well. Let's jump to Class 3A. Creston defeats Carroll 50-21. I'm all in, Paul. I am all in. Cale Turner, 11 of 12, 431 yards, 5 touchdowns. And he also had a rushing touchdown for 5 yards out. Dude had 6 total touchdowns. He only missed 1 pass, and he threw for 431 yards. I'm sure Brendan Hayes had a heck of a game on the ground. I'm so in on Creston. I am all in on Creston.
You ready for this passing yards per completion?
Oh, boy.
40. 39.2, the exact, but 40.
Wow.
Throwing 9.9 yards per carry, too.
They brought out 4 verticals the whole game and just played 4 verticals. What?
Madden game. 36-0 at half, by the way.
Unbelievable. They're so good. They are so good. And it's so cool to see. I mean, they've just got a class together that has worked, and they're just doing unbelievable things.
Yeah, crazy.
Do they get Harlan soon?
Yeah. This week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm stupid. I'm I'm picking Creston. All right.
Let's go. Cool. What is it? Panthers. I almost said Tigers. Sorry, Creston.
Hampton Dumont Cal defeats Nevada 24-21. We didn't talk about Hampton Dumont Cal, and Hampton Dumont Cal probably got angry. Granted, they're keeping an eye on Cade over at IA Sports. They're beating him up every week. But shout out Gavin Meter, 9 of 14, 95 yards, 1 touchdown, ran for 100 yards and a touchdown. I watched most of this game. It was very even. Nevada was mounting a pretty significant comeback in the end. I think if they had a couple more minutes, I think Nevada would have won this game just because Nevada had a lot of momentum rolling. But Hampton Dumont Cal, man, that's a big win. I'm sure. I don't know the schedule. Paul will read it here in a little bit, I'm sure. But that's a big win. And we've talked highly of Nevada. I'm not going to act like we haven't. It's a tough loss if you're Nevada for a defense that was supposed to be so good, just did not look good against the rush defense. And your schedule only gets harder. It's not like it's easy. So I think could be a wake-up call, but it's a heck of a measurement stick for Hampton Dumont Cal. If you guys are decent, you can hang with the big ones.
Yeah, I mean, very true there. You watched most of this game. Was time of possession an issue? Was Hampton Dumont kind of had the ball forever?
Yeah, they had the ball a lot.
Yeah, that's what the box score looks like. And then throw in, they got Humboldt, Webster City, Clear Lake, Charles City, and Algona to end the season.
That Clear Lake game is going to be
I think it was a pretty tough end of the road.
Yeah. That Clear Lake game is going to be fun.
Yeah, and Algona, too. At Algona.
Oh, yeah.
That's week 9.
Yeah, we'll figure things out. Good for Hampton Dumont Cal, though. That's a big win. Good for them. How you doing? Keep it moving. Solon defeats Mount Vernon 37-20. Solon did not care about your farewell party to your final game at your home stadium. Solon did not care that you beat them twice last year and broke a rivalry streak. Solon came out and just said, we are the better team. Conlin Poynton. Sorry, I messed that up so bad. 19 carries, 218 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Solon Spartans said, don't forget about us. Don't forget about us just yet.
Hold on. What do you mean the last home game?
That was the last home game at Mount Vernon Stadium.
Oh, so they have a new one like mid-season?
Yeah.
So that's what's going on? So I said, is that their last home game of the season? I was like, it's week 4. But, I mean, big win for Solon. What are we thinking about the Spartans?
So here's the thing. I'm going to be very biased. They get my Grinnell Tigers this week. Grinnell will be a tough test for them. Grinnell's offense is getting better, and they have a good quarterback in Brady Kaufman. I think they'll really figure out what it is, but just wait. They get Williamsburg in a couple weeks. So
yeah, they do.
Then we'll know. And they get Benton, I think, too.
Yeah, they get Benton next week.
Yeah.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Good win. That's a tough. What do we think about Vernon? You know, is this just one of those, it's a rivalry game, this happens?
Yeah, I mean, their guy, Joey Romberg, threw for 400-plus yards. I think
the offensive line still worries me.
4? No. Okay, I thought I said 4 sacks. Yeah, I mean, yeah, offensive line, I guess. trying to look for a stat that maybe tells us what's going on. Yeah, both teams defensively. I mean, 7 sacks for Mount Vernon, and 5 sacks for Sloan.
I think Mount Vernon's like up there in the state.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, I got it. I know. I got my
Oh.
padlock stat here. If you watch Josh Pate, 6.3 yards per carry for Sloan. Guess how many yards Mount Vernon averaged?
Probably like 2.
2.3. There you go.
There you go. There's the game.
Not gonna win games. Not ideal there. That big difference.
I think Mount Vernon's going to be just fine. It's a great win for Solon. Solon down year last year, but I think they're going to get back to what they were, and that's a good stepping stone. Williamsburg defeats Fort Madison 48-14. Kellen Cockrell, 8 of 12, 196 yards, 4 touchdowns, continues to just be amazing in the air. This game was tied at the end of the first quarter. It was 0-0, but Williamsburg scored, I think, 30-some points in the second, and that was all she wrote. Sorry, Fort Madison. You were undefeated, no longer undefeated. You just met a buzzsaw in Williamsburg.
Holy cow. 34 points in the second quarter.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, you ran into a buzzsaw. You just said it. There you go.
It's a tough loss for Fort Madison. Schedule's favorable, though, the rest of the season. So I think this could be the only loss on the Bloodhound schedule. So I could definitely see a one-loss season for Fort Madison, maybe get a chance to try them again in the playoffs. But Williamsburg continues to roll. I don't see anyone stopping them.
By the way, I know we were talking about how he didn't play against Clear Creek Amana.
Oh, so Derek is back. Gotcha.
Yep.
Good. Here's my big stunner that just dropped my jaw on the floor. West Delaware just dismantled Webster City, 42-13. Brent Yankovic, 6 of 12, 87 yards, 1 touchdown, and then he ran for 217 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Jackson Cherry still played. Like, some people thought Jackson just didn't play. No, he played. West Delaware just handled Webster City. A West Delaware team that, by the way, I think only had 1 win or was like 1-2 or something like that. Maybe hadn't even won. I can't remember. Oh my goodness. I was just stunned when I saw this score.
They're 2-2.
2-2. So they were 1-2.
Union Community and Webster City. Lost to Decorah and Western Dubuque. Western Dubuque obviously dropped like 61, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, I mean, we know Webster City's a team that leans on one dude a lot, and you're going to see this. If the team is a balanced attack against a team and can just limit Jackson to literally 100 yards total offense. Hate to say it, for Webster City, it's just not enough, which is kind of tough when it's 100-plus yards and a touchdown. But, yeah, I mean, West Delaware basically said, we're going to make Jackson Cherry have just an average game in his standards. And, no, that's what we'll do.
And you and I knew this was going to happen. I mean, anybody could have seen this happening because we've talked about every single week. If Jackson's off, Webster City's off. And even then, Jackson wasn't off. It just struggled. So just kind of one of those things. Great win for West Delaware. I think this could set them back on track, set them in the right direction. I think they're going to be just fine for the most part. I'm excited to see how they go. We'll jump down to Class 2A. Western Christian defeats Cherokee Washington 28-20. Closer game than I think some people thought. I think Cherokee came back in the end. Caden Van Regenmorter, 15 of 30, 171 yards, 1 touchdown, 31 rushing yards for 2 touchdowns. I think if you looked at stats, this isn't a surprising win for Western Christian.
Yeah, I mean, turnovers bite. Cherokee Washington looks like they had 3 interceptions. So, wow, there were a ton of interceptions in this game. I mean, not interceptions, a ton of turnovers. 5 total interceptions and 2 fumble recoveries for Western Christian, which I guess set them apart. Sloppy?
Yeah, and if you can stop the run, which Western Christian looks like they did for the most part, that's a big difference maker.
Yeah.
For the most part. So, good for Western Christian. Good win, get the job done. I think they are 4-0, so that's a good start for them. I think they could be a really interesting team. They are one of our games of the week this week because I believe they play West Lyon, if I'm not mistaken, another undefeated team. So
and circle weekend for them.
Yeah, big game. Yeah, the Lions could be battling in the next couple weeks. It'll be fun to watch. Interstate 35 defeats previously unbeaten Sheridan 24-6. Like I said, it wasn't a good week to be undefeated, really. Yeah. I-35's Eli Green, 22 carries, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's a good win for I-35 to get back to 500. Sheridan, tough loss, first loss of the year. Just wanted to glance over that one. Not a ton happened in 2A this week. The Tipton Tigers, Paul, are 4-0. Tell your friends. 21-11. They defeat West Liberty. Ian Spangler, 5 of 11, 90 yards, 1 touchdown, 95 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Ian Spangler, isn't that the name of the Ghostbusters guy?
No clue.
Man, I think it is. No. Talk about this game.
Wow.
Talk about Tipton. I'm going to look this up.
Tipton, 5 sacks against West Liberty, 2 fumble recoveries too. They just got it done defensively. It looks like, congrats them. Only allowed 3 points all the way up until the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, West Liberty dropped 8. So basically, just shut down the West Liberty offense. Blake fixed one, getting that.
It was Egon Spangler.
Oh, there you go.
He is no longer with us. Rest in peace. But Egon. It's also Spengler, not Spangler. Don't hate me, Ghostbusters fans. I just didn't really watch. I've seen the movies. I just didn't think they were great. But yeah, Tipton's defense is legit. I think that could be the thing that carries them. I don't think they're losing. I think they're going 9-0. I think it gets interesting come playoff time. But good for Tipton, man. I don't know if they won a game last year. Honestly, I'd be curious. But either way, heck of a turnaround. Very good social media presence for them. They really enjoyed our stuff on Facebook. I think their coach was retweeting it and was like, yep, we're legit. I'm like, that's what we want to see. That's really cool. So shout out Tipton. Glad we were able to get some photos of you. Van Meter defeats Clarinda. And this man, Ben Gordon, you ever heard of him? He did everything in this game. He threw a pass for 48 yards. He ran for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a catch for 24 yards. He had 3 returns for 145 yards and a touchdown. Ben Gordon did everything, and Van Meter just continues to roll.
Yeah. I mean, wow, this team just started firing at all cylinders. Just say Underwood was like a slip-up for them at this point.
How good is Underwood?
Yeah, how good is Underwood? I mean, again, we've been talking about it. If Central Lyon goes undefeated, this game is going to be like
cinema. Absolute cinema. Might be Central Lyon versus Van Meter. I'm excited, man. Class 2A is pretty fun. A lot of kind of like 4A. They're just kind of beating up on each other. There's a couple guys breaking away, but there's still a lot left to be desired. We'll keep an eye on it as we roll along. We'll go to Class 1A. MFL Marmac defeats Afflington Parkersburg 42-0. I'm sold on these Bulldogs. Wyatt Powell, 9 carries, 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns. These guys just seem to have it, despite losing Zach Driscoll to Decorah. But MFL Marmac looks legit.
Yeah, on the ground, 313 yards with 9.5 yards per carry. Absolute display. 5 rushing touchdowns along with that. Just going crazy running the ball.
I think
dominant game for sure.
Yeah. I think they could very well be a dome team. Pella Christian defeats Pleasantville. 2 teams coming off losses, trying to get back rolling. 42-14. No stats in this one as of when I put the sheet together, but good win for Pella Christian. Just kind of wanted to go over that quickly. I think anything on that one?
Oh, yeah. We got stats for both teams. I heard you.
All right. Anything Pella Christian wise?
Brief look. I mean, rushing 326 total yards rushing for Pella Christian.
Just Pella Christian.
6.9 yards per carry. Wow.
Nice.
Only allowed 1.9 yards per carry on the other end. So
wow.
Boom.
Good for them.
Good for the
Dyke New Hartford, Paul. They heard our cries. The offense showed up. Yeah. They defeat Sumner Fredericksburg 24-14. A good Sumner Fredericksburg team, might I add. And it's like I said, that defense is unbelievable. They just got to figure out how that offense is going to work, and they might go to the Dome. I mean, this is a good team. Colin Meester, 12 of 19, 166 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for a touchdown. I mean, I think Dyke New Hartford's a very good team. The offense got to be there.
Yeah, I mean, wow. 11.5 tackles for loss for Dyke New Hartford this game with 4 sacks. That's just ridiculous. And I mean, offense just put up 20 plus. Boom. We're there. I mean, they would be, I hate to do this, if you put 20 plus on the board and every week they're undefeated.
Wow.
And that's not that big of a.
That is a statistic. That might be the greatest stat you've ever thrown out.
Yeah. Score points, you win games.
Last game for Class 1A, West Sioux defeats Lawton Bronson 30 to 29. This game, just by the box score, looked like it was unbelievable. Like, I think West Sioux came back, and I don't know. I just think this game was unbelievable. I just wanted to talk about it. Blake Wiggins, 11 of 17, 110 yards and a touchdown. Ran for 214 yards and 3 touchdowns. Good for West Sioux. Close game. Lawton Bronson, 2 very good teams. I mean, I think they're not amazing, but I think they're good in their own right. So good for West Sioux. That's a good win. And we'll keep the train rolling.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Logan Grimsley, I know he's a D1 scout, recruiting people. Like now he had 108 yards, 1 tutty, 3 receptions. I think he did a little more. I think maybe like rushing the ball or returning. But yeah. This is a crazy game, it looks like, on box score.
Yeah. There's a couple more that are kind of like that down below. We jump to Class A. Madrid defeats Linville Sully 27-9. Preston Wicker, 7 of 10, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. He ran for 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, so 4 total touchdowns. Madrid's defense, very good. Linville Sully just kind of struggled. Quarterback play, Lucas Seek, I think, threw a couple picks. This is the Linville Sully that I think people thought we would see without Noun Harder coming back. Again, sounds like he might come back for the playoffs. Maybe. We'll see what happens. But Madrid, man, 4-0, and I think they're pretty legit. I think this is a team that could possibly go to the Dome.
Yeah. 4 total turnovers for Linville Sully. Not going to be able to get it done with that amount of turnovers. I mean, for Linville Sully, they're in every win they get. He's like it's a big deal because just make the playoffs and you're back to being that team that people think.
And I think they can. It's just a matter of, just win, baby. That's all you got to do.
Mean, you know more than me about this class, obviously. So they've got Wayne, Mount Air, Martinsdale, St. Mary's, and Central Decatur. I don't know what.
Mount Air is pretty much that. Yeah, I think Mount Air is that big last hurdle.
Gotcha.
So keep it rolling. See what happens. Good win for Madrid, man. They're legit. I'm on board. I think Madrid's very good. 4-0 start to the season against pretty good teams. That's a big one. Like, they're just good wins against good teams. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. ICAM Manning defeats Riverside 38-37. I just thought this game was hilarious. ICAM Manning was down 30-18 going into the fourth quarter and goes out and wins the dang thing. So congrats to ICAM Manning. Davis Rasmussen, 2 catches, 56 yards, ran for 98 yards and a touchdown. Just wanted to quickly touch on that one. And then our Class A game of the week, ACGC defeats South Central Calhoun 35-21. This game is tied at 21 going into the fourth. Mike Fuller, 23 carries, 205 yards, 3 touchdowns. ACGC people were in our comments telling us to rank them, even though we don't have a say in who's ranked. But I think it's safe to say we're about to see a ranked ACGC team.
Yeah. 432 on the ground. How do you like that? 8 yards carry, 5 rushing touchdowns. That's ridiculous. 10 TFLs. Throw that in there, too.
Wow. Good for them. Good win. Happy for ACGC. I hope you get ranked. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't get ranked. So good for ACGC. Keep it rolling. Finally, 8-player ending us off. Glidden Ralston defeats undefeated Baxter 42-32. Emery Snyder, 18 carries, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also caught 34 yards and a touchdown. Tough loss for Baxter. I think they could still go to the playoffs. They'll still go to the playoffs. I just think, Glidden Ralston, their only loss is like 1 point to Arweva, 25-24. If it wasn't for that, easy 4-0 for these guys.
Yeah. mean, I don't know. Where would you rank Baxter in like top 10?
Oh gosh,
Where?
don't ask me about 8-player ranking. I just said
I don't
before
know. I
that
thought I was maybe thinking you knew.
I mean, I think they're top 10. Like I think they can definitely get there. It's just a matter of, you know, just got to win, keep winning. A couple tough games ahead, I feel like. So set yourself apart. One team that I think really, I mean, we've talked about it. There are two teams that have set themselves apart from the rest. It's Winfield Mount Union and Gladbrook Rhinebeck. One team that really benefited this week, Gladbrook Rhinebeck, is because of Don Bosco. Don Bosco defeats Key 68-34. Key is no slouch. No slouch. Mutterman is an unbelievable playmaker. Don Bosco, that's a huge win for them. And Gladbrook Rhinebeck beat Don Bosco. So you just use the theory of, all right, who beat who beat who. Big win for Don Bosco.
Oh my God. They hung 513 rushing yards.
Jeez.
10.5 a carry. Holy cow.
8-player, man. Insane.
These stats are so comical compared to like the other ones. It's like just magnitude times like 4.
Harris Lake Park defeats Noah Fonda 26-18. 2 INTs forced by the Wolves. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a final score out for this. We didn't have any photos. And before you say, why couldn't we just take somebody's photo? We couldn't take somebody's photo because we'd be sued, because the guy that takes photos for Harris Lake Park, the only guy that takes photos for Harris Lake Park, never got back to us we just wanted to use one photo for a final score post, and we never got back to us. So unfortunately, we could not get a final score post out. I didn't want to just do something different, but good for Harris Lake Park. Good win. They're 3-1. Could make some noise. Defense seems to be pretty good for the most part. Good for the Wolves. Moravia defeats Southeast Warren 59-28. Shane Helmick, 9 of 12, 208 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also ran for 31 yards and a touchdown. I tell you what, Paul, Moravia is very good. That Bedford game just really stands out.
Yeah. I'm pulling up the stat sheet for this one. So
63-20 loss to Bedford just is an eyesore on that schedule.
Oh yeah, no, I see that. That's brutal. We like Bedford though.
Oh, I'm all in on Bedford. I think Bedford go to the Dome. It's just I'm just stunned that they're really good, and then they met Bedford, and you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, what happened?
Yeah, Moravia about almost 500. It looks like just below 500 total yards of offense in this game, and is even 235 in the air, and then 262 on the ground. So
yeah,
balanced.
Yeah, absolutely. This next game, I'm not going to go back and look, but this got to be the most amount of points Redmond and St. Mary's has scored in a while. They defeat Boyer Valley 12-7. How many 8-player games are finishing 12-7? You know how good defenses have to be to hold another defense to just 7 points, and either then again 12 points? Like, that's almost unheard of, I feel like.
Yep. I mean, sloppy game. Stats aren't even in for Remsen, but yeah, they had 3 turnovers. See that? So,
how are we feeling about Remsen?
What is this stat sheet? 40 total yards in an 8-man game for Boyer Valley.
Wow. Do you have any thoughts on Remsen? They're 4-0.
I mean, the winners win, man. That team just does. That program, I feel like, never loses.
The thing is, I think they could go to the Dome, win the championship. Wouldn't surprise me. That's just how the program is. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think
correct me if I'm wrong, but the inner schedule looks. At least I know these teams like New Fonda, Arweva, then they got Woodbine, and then West Harrison. I got Arweva and New Fonda.
They should win out. We'll see. It's a good team. After how much they lost last year, it just stunned me if they went back again. But they're winning, finding ways to win. Last game, this was on a Saturday at 3:30. I'd love to know why this was on a Saturday at 3:30, but Winfield Mount Union defeats Montezuma 70-20. Cam Buffington, 15 carries, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also caught 246 yards and 4 touchdowns. I don't have any more words to describe what Cam Buffington's doing.
Yeah, posts are going to be coming out about him soon. I mean, wow, 600 or no, I'm wrong. About 500 and 495 yards total offense for Winfield Mount Union. Crazy. I mean, this team's the 8-man legit. Obviously, with Cam Buffington, they've made that stride, man. And Jake Edwards, 300 total passing yards, 4
Yeah.
touchdowns.
Like, it's Cam, but Jake is doing a ton, and he's going completely unnoticed. But he is a huge reason why this team is so good on offense, because he's getting the ball to Cam.
Yeah. And sorry, 1 second, I'm checking to see. I forgot we dropped the video for this game.
Yeah, we did. We had somebody. We didn't have somebody, but somebody was at the game and did like a highlight video, and he just asked for a collaboration. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Dante.
Yeah.
Hey, made the hardest 8-man video I've ever seen.
If he's going to be our 8-man guy, maybe we should bring him on board. I mean, dang. Good stuff. That's your
video for like 8-man. You just saw cornfields in the background, but it's like,
yeah, that was the funniest thing. That's just 8-player, man. The legit cornfield and silos right in the back front. What?
Yeah.
I love 8-player. That is a recap. Oh, what?
Not that I was saying we made it all the way through 8-man.
Oh, yeah, we did. 5A through 8-player. Really appreciate everyone for listening. We still got a little bit more to go here as we clips an hour. Let's go Friday night standout. I'm going to go with the man from Western Dubuque, the man that's getting it all done. Grant Glosser, his stat line looked like this: 31 carries, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 catches, 17 yards, 1 kickoff return for 30 yards, over 400 yards overall on the night. Leads Western Dubuque to a big win over North Scott. Grant, you are my Friday night standout.
Yep, and I got the Storm Lake prodigy himself, the Lominator, Carson Lohman. 505 yards, 7 touchdowns, throw in 31 completions with 40 attempts.
There goes that man.
This week. No one did that.
There goes that man.
Shout out the Lominator, man. Carson Lohman. It's Perry, but go Storm Lake, man. 2-2.
Wow. 2-2 Storm Lake? Wow.
2-2 Storm Lake after going 0-9, 0-18 past 2 years.
Wow.
Tornadoes, baby.
Love to see it. We'll go to our bound overreactions of the week. I don't know if it's a layup, but I'm worried about those Saints marching out and not marching in. I'm worried about Xavier. They have not missed the Dome since 2019. I'm not saying I'm hitting the panic button, but I'm definitely worried about a team that just has looked fine, but they haven't looked great. They beat Western Dubuque, which is a great win, but then they turn around and lose to Pella. And I think Pella's good, but I don't think Pella's like that good. I don't know. Just kind of a weird start to the season. They have a win over Waverly Shell Rock and Western Dubuque, which is a good win and not a great win. And then you have losses to Williamsburg, a good loss to Pella, might end up being a good loss, probably will. I don't know, man. I think Ronan Thomas is still very good. I worry because this is just uncharted territory. We haven't seen Xavier like this in a while. And even in 2019, they made the playoffs, but they lost to North Scott in the first round, 9-3. But I just feel like I'm going to overreact and I think they're in trouble. I just worry that this might not be a year that Xavier might make it to the Dome. And the way Class 4A is, 2 losses early feels like, whoa, are we in trouble? So that's my thoughts on Cedar Rapids Xavier. That's my overreaction of the week.
Gotcha. And then for me, my overreaction, I think Centennial is a 5A Dome team. That'd be my overreaction. Bold take after having 2 losses, but they just competed with Set better than anyone has. Shout out Valley, though. They did their thing, even though they're on 4 now. Jaguars, man, watch out for them. They've got dudes in the skill positions. Defensively, they actually are holding up after kind of a brutal start to the season. So watch out for the Jags, man. I think there's some teams that could maybe say that we'll make it to the Dome over them. The Waukees of the world, maybe an Eastern Iowa team. But, hey, the Jaguars, man, they're looking legit.
Make sure to stay tuned. Like I said, for Thursday's show, Paul and I will be giving our Dome predictions, our 4 Dome teams for each class. So keep an eye out for that one. I still got some work to do. I still got to think about a couple of them. Final awards, or final segment is awards. Our Bound to Talk awards segment. I'm going to go with the Wrestler School Award, and it goes to the school that is known as a wrestling school. West Delaware uses every ounce of wrestler muscle that they had on the field and stuns Webster City. Like I said before, unbelievable upset. I just could not believe it when I saw it. If they would have won by 7, I would have been like, oh, dang, that's impressive. But they just flat out 42-13 them. What a win for West Delaware. I'm happy for them. It's a good school, good guys. Had a good photographer at that game. Liked his photos. He looked pretty good. Just good for West Delaware. That's a big win for a wrestler school on the gridiron of the football field.
Yeah. And then for me, I mean, I've got to give the Ironman Award to Cam Buffington, dude. This dude's doing everything that you can want on a football field. 1,000+ total yards of offense, just throwing 40 tackles along with it. No one's doing that. Don't care that's 8 men. Dude's a crazy good. Yeah. Watch out for Winfield.
Insane stuff. Insane week.
Rejoice.
What's up?
I said Iowa Hawkeye fans rejoice.
Yeah. Minnesota fan wearing a Hawkeye shirt. You gotta love it. It's quite the time.
Fraud, but we're still rolling.
It's insane week. We appreciate everyone for watching and listening. This will be out here tonight. I'm going to post this right after we finish it. Check out tomorrow, as of Tuesday, the first episode of Bound to Talk Volleyball will be out. Javi and Leah and I recorded that. So you got good listening content. Paul and I will be back on Thursday for your midweek episode. We're answering questions and then our dome predictions, and then we'll be right back on it for week 5. We appreciate everyone for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow. We're trying to hit 40K on Instagram by the end of the month, so we'll see what happens. You never know. We might get there. But as for Paul Arridge, I'm Blake Walker. Thank you so much for listening to Bound to Talk Football. We'll see you guys on Thursday.